They discovered the shocking secrets of Jesus' teachings on eternity. Few knew what truly happened that night in an obscure, dusty village nestled between the hills of Judea. The air was heavy, thick with trembling anticipation. A crowd gathered, whispering theories and fears, eyes darting like fireflies in the darkness. They stood under flickering oil lamps, their faces illuminated, a blend of hope and uncertainty. In the center, a frail figure stood, a man named Lazarus, recently risen from the dead. Yes, dead. He was supposed to be lifeless, his body already wrapped in grave cloths. The stench of decay should have clung to him, yet here he was, breathing, alive. The whispers grew louder, echoing disbelief mixed with awe. Some gasped. Others fell to their knees. What power had touched Lazarus? What cosmic force had pulled him back from the void? Questions swirled among the crowd, coiling tightly in their throats. Families huddled. Mothers clutched their children, guarding them from the chilling mystery unraveling before their eyes. Was this a blessing or a curse? The scene felt surreal. Sparse moonlight spilled across the stones, casting long shadows that felt alive. Sounds of rustling garments filled the air, nervous laughter replaced by solemn murmurs. And how did Lazarus return? Did he remember anything? Was there another world beyond this one? His eyes sparkled with a secret, a truth only he could grasp. Yet he said nothing. Why? As tension mounted, a single voice cried out, "What does it mean for us?" The crowd fell silent, all eyes locked on Lazarus, anticipating his response. His expression darkened momentarily, as if caught between two realms. Fear crept into the hearts of those witnessing the impossible. Could they each face their mortality? In that moment, time paused. The veil between life and death felt so thin, so fragile. Was this moment just a precursor to deeper truths hidden within Jesus' teachings? Questions hung thick in the air, leaving an electric buzz that lingered long after the gathering dispersed. What other mysteries lay in the shadows, waiting to be revealed, waiting for the brave to seek answers? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the crowd began to disperse, murmurs of disbelief echoed through the village streets, but the night air still carried the weight of wonder. Lazarus remained at the center, a profound presence amidst a sea of uncertainty. His thoughts roamed back to the moment before life invaded his stillness, puzzling over what unknowable force had wrenched him back. His heart, a drum of memory, thudded as he sought to reconstruct those fleeting moments beyond the grave. What lay beyond death's grasp? Shadows of flickering memories danced before his mind, but clarity eluded him. Shapes of light and echoes of laughter punctured his consciousness, mingling with visions of peace he couldn't fully grasp. Did the spirit awaken in that realm and witness the eternal? Would he ever articulate his experience in words that made sense to others? As he stood there, a figure approached Mary, his sister. Her eyes brimmed with tears, a mixture of joy and grief swirling within. "Lazarus," she breathed, clutching a corner of his robe. "What happened? Where were you?" Lazarus looked down upon her, grasping the weight of her anguish along with the relief pouring from her heart. "I do not remember clearly, Mary," he finally whispered, "but I felt both lost and found, trapped yet freed." Confusion settled on her brow as she searched his face for an answer, a glimmer of understanding buried deep within him, as profound as an ocean yet tangled like reeds in a river. Across the village, word of his revival spread like wildfire, igniting a fierce curiosity that compelled villagers to seek his wisdom. Rumors of his encounter with mortality filled streets, igniting dialogues in homes and marketplaces. A few dared to question whether Lazarus was a prophetic sign, a walking testament to Jesus' astonishing power. Could it be that the teachings they had struggled to understand now anchored themselves in this miraculous event? A small gathering formed near the town well where they spoke in hushed tones, grappling with the implications. They questioned if the limits of human understanding had expanded, if life bloomed beyond death's harrowing threshold. One elder remarked, "What if this act is a glimpse of what is to come, a prelude to salvation for those who believe?" His words settled heavily in the hearts of those listening, a fleeting touch of hope washing over them as they imagined the possibilities. The contemplative atmosphere stirred deep within Lazarus as he realized something. He wasn't merely a spectacle. He was more like a bridge between two worlds now. Yet the weight of expectation pressed upon him. They sought answers he could scarcely find for himself. With every question he faced sharpening their intrigue, not fading it. Days passed, and as the sun rose and set, Lazarus became increasingly withdrawn, the brilliance of his return mingling with a creeping solitude. Each moment of shared excitement was shadowed by an unshakable unease. How could he convey the magnificence of newfound life while still being tethered to the uncertainties of everyday existence? It was a burdensome dichotomy. Jesus, sensing the turmoil within Lazarus, approached him one quiet evening as shadows began to cast long fingers across the ground. The air thickened with unspilled words between them. "Brother," Jesus spoke gently, "what weighs on your heart?" Lazarus met his gaze, emboldened by the warmth of a familiar spirit. "I feel the burden of immortality, yet I'm tethered to a bewildering world. What does it mean to return?" Jesus smiled softly, a light illuminating the depths of his understanding. To return is to awaken, not merely from sleep, but from ignorance. You are a testament, yes, but it is in the living that you will uncover the deeper truth. His words spiraled in Lazarus' mind, drawing him into an enigmatic dialogue with destiny. The stars shone high above, seemingly whispering their secrets to the world below. Could it be that his resurrection was not the only mystery waiting to be unveiled? What more lay in the divine tapestry woven through time and spirit? In the quiet of the evening, questions filled the space around them, echoing into the endless night. Where does the boundary of life and death truly begin and end? What did it mean to carry the weight of eternal truth into an existence fraught with uncertainty? As the days unfurled into weeks, Lazarus found solace in a heavy burden within the challenge set before him. Each dawn drew long shadows across the land, whispering of changes yet to come. He sought the quietude of the olive grove outside the village where the winds seemed to carry the echoes of eternity itself. Here, among the gnarled branches and murmuring leaves, he endeavored to grapple with the questions awakening within him. Within the gathering of the villagers, he sensed the tide of fascination not just for what had transpired, but for who Jesus might truly be. The discourse of wonder and skepticism flowed freely, swirling around the figure who had breathed life back into him. Is he a prophet? They mused. A messenger from God? The dialogues painted Jesus in bold strokes, yet submerged beneath their speculation, hesitance simmered. They feared the depth of such a conviction might demand something greater than they were willing to give. One evening, as dusk draped itself over the landscape, Lazarus sat beneath the stars, the vast expanse of heaven stretching out before him. The moon glimmered like a beacon, igniting questions about the unknown realms. This beauty, he pondered, enclosed a paradox of existence, the delicate dance of life within the shadow of death. Mary joined him, her presence a gentle comfort against the backdrop of celestial wonders. "What burdens you, brother?" she asked softly, her gaze fixated on the stars, as if seeking guidance among them. "I ponder the truth of existence beyond our mortal coil," Lazarus confessed, his voice barely a whisper, almost lost among the leaves rustling in the night wind. "What indeed lies beyond the veil?" If I have returned, where does my spirit belong? She moved closer, her heart attuned to his turmoil. The teachings of Jesus would guide us, would they not? He speaks of love and resurrection. Perhaps there is a greater purpose in your return than mere life that I know only fragments of his words. Mary. Yet each seems imbued with a weight I can scarcely comprehend. Lazarus looked toward the horizon, the darkening sky marked by the bright flicker of stars. If death is not an end, why is the path back to life fraught with such ambiguity? A rustling in the distance caught their attention. Some villagers had gathered nearby, drawn to the ethereal atmosphere surrounding the grove. Among them was Martha, their sister, who carried a small lantern. Its soft glow painted the surrounding darkness with warmth. "We have come to speak with you, Lazarus," she announced, her voice trembling with excitement. "We wish to hear from you about the one who restored you." Lazarus rose, hesitating, caught in the whirlwind of their anticipation. He marveled at the courage it took to face the unknown, each villager reflecting the light of curiosity and fear alike. It was an opportunity, a chance to weave the fabric of their faith into something more profound. But how could he capture the ineffable, the heart of the divine connection he felt he barely grasped? As he gazed into their eager faces, a single thought rang clear. They were searching not just for an explanation, but for a truth that could anchor their souls amidst life's insecurities. Could he be the one to lead them toward that revelation? He began, feeling the gravity of the moment weigh upon him. "I can only share what I have felt. The love that emanated from Jesus is a force unlike any I have known. It is as if in the depths of despair, he opened a door to a light that transcended my very being." His words ignited a flicker of hope, rippling across the assembly. Yet deep within, uncertainty gnawed at his heart. Was it enough to inspire belief? Would they see what he had seen beyond the grave? Or would they turn away, comforted by the familiar constraints of mortal fear? As they gathered closer, yearning for his story, the stars above continued to shine down with ancient wisdom. What must they seek to truly know, to believe? What truths lurked in the shadows, waiting to be unearthed by those willing to ask, what does it mean to awaken fully to life? And how? Do we embrace the eternal that lies so tantalizingly beyond? As the night deepened, a calm enveloped the olive grove. The stark contrast of the flickering lantern against the vast starlit sky, creating a world suspended in time. The villagers leaned in, their faces a tapestry of hope and anxiety. They sought answers, but the questions wended deeper than mere curiosity. They reached into the very essence of their beings. "Tell us more, Lazarus," Martha urged, her eyes wide with anticipation. "What else did you feel?" She seemed to embody their collective yearning, each word a plea for understanding. Lazarus drew a breath, the weight of their expectations solidifying in his chest. "When Jesus approached me, I felt no fear. It was a presence that felt like home, as if he traversed the distances between life and death effortlessly, the barriers of our earthly existence dissolving in his wake." The crowd murmured, a chorus of astonishment mingled with disbelief. But how could he do such a thing? One villager whispered, almost to himself, as others echoed their disbelief, caught between skepticism and wonder. "He spoke not of miracles as spectacles," Lazarus continued, his voice steady amidst the rumblings. "Rather, he taught of faith as a bridge that connects realms." I could sense that in that moment beyond the frailty of flesh, he unveiled a majesty, an invitation to partake in something divine. Mary, emboldened by his words, interjected, "He once spoke of a grain of wheat, that unless it falls to the ground and dies, it remains but a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." The villagers listened intently, the metaphor weaving through their thoughts like the olive branches around them. They grappled with an unsettling notion that perhaps their lives, confined to temporal concerns, were only the precursors to a far greater existence. "Oh, you think," one elder questioned, "we are too often preoccupied with the shadows of death, and not enough with the promise of life abundant?" His brow furrowed, pondering the implications of such a conviction. "Yes," Lazarus said slowly, allowing the depth of the question to resonate. "Through my journey, I saw that death is not the antithesis of life, but its greatest teacher. My own rebirth has shown me the intertwined nature of these realities. Jesus shows us that to truly live, we must not fear death, but embrace it, for on the other side lies the fullness of existence." The realization hung heavy amidst the villagers' dawning awareness that perhaps they had been imprisoned by their own fears, missing the essence of what it meant to be truly alive, while holding tightly to the concept of mortality. What if this is merely the beginning? Another voice ventured, a mixture of hope and trepidation lacing his tone. What if our understanding of eternity is limited by our imagination? Could we be more than we perceive? Lazarus' heart stirred at the notion. Should we not consider that our earthly journeys could be but reflections of what awaits us? Jesus spoke often of the kingdom of God. Perhaps what lies ahead is not an end, but a continuation, a deeper, richer exploration of our souls. Their eyes widened, the possibility of such a proclamation igniting a flicker of courage within them. Yet, amidst the rising hope, a chill of uncertainty lingered in the air. The question loomed large. Were they prepared to relinquish their anxieties and step into the uncharted waters of eternal life? "We have been fed stories of fear and limitation," Mary said softly, wrapping her arms around herself as if to comfort her own spirit. "How do we begin to unlearn what binds us? How do we take the first step into this new understanding?" As silence fell upon the group, they each felt the weight of their collective quest. There was no immediate answer, only the echo of their shared longing and entreaty toward both understanding and transformation. What must they confront within their own hearts to unlock the door to eternity? If faith beckons them to leave behind what they know, will they have the strength to embrace the adventure that lies beyond mortality's grasp? In the soft glow of the lantern, the villagers found themselves enveloped not just in light, but in something deeper, an ache of yearning for revelation and truth. As the stars shimmered above, the shadows of their fears began to dance, intertwining with the glimmer of faith that flickered within their souls. Lazarus, a young man named Eli, spoke, his voice trembling with a mixture of eagerness and trepidation. He spoke of faith as a bridge. But what lies on the other side? What if we dare to step away from the familiar? The crowd held its breath, riveted by Ella's courageous question. For within that yearning lay the seeds of their transformation, yet it also beckoned them to confront the very foundation of their beliefs. Lazarus felt the gravity of Eli's inquiry, and after a moment's pause, he replied, "On the other side of faith, I glimpsed a realm where love is the currency and understanding is limitless. Jesus revealed to me that our fears of judgment and separation are mere illusions, crafted by our limited perception. The truth is, we are knit together in a divine tapestry, each thread vital to the whole." Martha's eyes sparkled with an inner understanding. But how do we open our eyes to see this interconnectedness? How do we awaken to what lies beyond our earthly bonds? Lazarus smiled gently, appreciating the earnestness of her query. Through love and service, Jesus taught us that the path to the kingdom is paved with acts of kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. When we let go of our grievances and embrace one another, we begin to experience eternity here and now. Mary pondered this, her heart swelling with hope. Yet, how can we trust in love when the world is so full of pain? It feels as if every act of love is met with resistance. Is it not easier to retreat into the shadows? What if Lazarus interjected with a profound calm? The shadows exist precisely to encourage us to shine brighter. Our struggles are not signs of defeat, but opportunities to reveal the resilient spirit within us. He gestured towards the olive trees that surrounded them. Just as this grove sheds its leaves in winter, yet buds anew in the spring, so too must we endure trials to bear the fruit of hope and growth. The villagers exchanged glances, sensing the stirrings of a collective awakening. The idea that adversity could be an avenue for transformation, brought oxygen to their fears, invigorating their spirits. But what of the darkness we carry? A voice broke through the stillness, tinged with the weight of personal burden. How do we confront the fears that bind us, the shadows that seem so insurmountable? Lazarus fixed his gaze on the man, recognizing both the pain and the potential for healing. In our struggles, we must invite Jesus into our hearts, allowing his light to illuminate our paths. It is through vulnerability that we find strength, and by sharing our burdens with one another, we cultivate a community that thrives in love, mercy, and grace. Mary lifted her chin thoughtfully. Could it be that the teachings of Jesus are revealing not only life on the other side of death, but a new way of living right now? Is this what it means to walk in eternity? A fervor ignited within the gathering. The depth of this revelation stirred their hearts, but questions still lingered like uninvited guests. It was understood that embracing this truth would require courageous willingness to stand against the tides of fear and ignorance. Should we share these insights with others? Eli asked, uncertainty knotting his brows. How do we convey such profound truths without causing more confusion or rejection? The crowd fell silent, burdened by the weight of their mission. Each heart wrestled with the daunting responsibility of spreading hope in a world often shrouded in skepticism. They wondered if they were prepared to bear the fruits of such a powerful message. Perhaps, Lazarus said softly, the journey begins with our own hearts. We must embody this understanding, transforming our lives to reflect the teachings of Jesus. Our actions can speak louder than words, drawing others toward the light we've discovered. As their conversation deepened, the villagers felt the stirrings of revival thrumming within. It became clear that their mission was not merely to comprehend eternity, but to live as embodiments of that very truth. Yet, amidst the burgeoning sense of purpose, the question remained, were they ready to set forth with such a profound conviction, to allow their lives to become beacons of hope in a world replete with shadows? And in risking vulnerability, would they reinforce their faith in the love that transcends all understanding? As dawn approached, the soft hues of light began to spill over the horizon, bathing the village in a gentle glow. The villagers, still conjoined in their hopes and uncertainties, found solace in the cool morning air. Lazarus, refreshed by the night's discussions, sensed a flickering anticipation among the people. He felt united with them in a sacred quest for truth. Come, he invited, gesturing toward the distant hills where the sun would rise. Let us walk to a place where the earth meets the heavens. I believe we have more to discover about the promise of eternity. As they ambled together, laughter broke the tension that had lingered in the previous night's deep contemplation. Eli, emboldened by his earlier questions, trotted beside Lazarus, eyes wide with curiosity. Is eternity something we feel now, or is it an elusive promise for later? Is both, dear Eli, Lazarus replied, glancing back at the gathering crowd, whose steps echoed softly on the dew-kissed ground. Eternity is woven into the fabric of our current lives. Jesus spoke of it as accessible not just after death, but as a reality we can embrace through love and communion. Observe the nature around us, how seasons shift, yet all contribute to the cycle of life. What may seem like endings are in truth beginnings. Martha, who had been contemplative, added quietly, but if eternity is embedded in our present realities, why are there moments of silence in our souls, shadowed by doubt? At this, Lazarus stopped and turned, facing her directly. Those moments are essential. They remind us of the contrast between the divine promise and our human experience. Just as the night prepares the world for dawn, our struggles can guide us toward deeper understanding. It is in the silence, the waiting, that we learn to listen for the whispers of grace. As they drew closer to a clearing where the olive trees stood sentinel in the soft sunlight, Mary's voice cut through the tranquil atmosphere. Yet, how do we affirm hope when it feels so distant? How can faith stand firm in the face of overwhelming despair? Lazarus contemplated the question, aware of the depth of Mary's anguish. Faith is not the absence of doubt, he began, but the courage to voyage forward in spite of it. When Jesus spoke of eternity, he implored us to persist, to trust that each trial serves a purpose in shaping us for something greater, to remain steadfast in love. That is the essence of true faith, that a breeze rustled through the grove, causing leaves to dance and shadows to play upon the ground. The villagers were mesmerized by the imagery, each interpreting it as a glimpse of their inner turmoil, being swathed in the promise of renewal. Standing amidst the trees, Lazarus pointed towards the distant mountains. "There," he said, "lies a reminder of the mountains we all must climb. The struggles may vary, but in each of us is the potential for transformation. If we accept and embrace our challenges, we grow ever closer to the eternity Jesus spoke of. And if we falter," a voice chimed from the back, edged with uncertainty, "then we gather around one another, just as we are now," Lazarus affirmed. "In community, we find strength." Jesus showed us that to be part of the divine tapestry is to share our burden and help weave another's thread into the whole. Something stirred within the hearts of the villagers. They began to feel the weight of their interconnectedness, each feeling individual yet inseparably linked to the others. It became increasingly clear that their mission stretched beyond mere words to action, to the sharing of love and forgiveness. "That is all well and good," Eli said, a flicker of resistance in his voice. "But how do we remain steadfast in spreading this message when the world seems engulfed in hostility, when there is opposition to love?" Lazarus looked earnestly at Eli, recognizing the challenge of fear and doubt as perpetual companions. "Ah, dear friend, therein lies the beauty of our journey. Each act of love witnesses to hope amidst hostility. The seeds we plant today may take root in ways we cannot yet fathom. Remember, even the smallest spark can ignite a flame that chases the darkness away as the sun rose higher, illuminating the path ahead." The villagers felt an awakening within themselves. Their questions were not answers to be solved, but companions on this journey of faith, each inviting contemplation and connection. The day held within it the energy of uncertainty, yet also the tantalizing promise of discovery. What awaited them as they deepened their understanding of eternity? Would they find the courage to embrace love as their guiding force? And how might their struggles serve to illuminate the path forward, revealing profound truths yet to be unearthed? As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting a warm glow over the gathered villagers, they felt more alive, their spirits lifted by the promise of new understanding. Lazarus stood tall beneath the sprawling branches of the olive trees, their gnarled roots testament to the enduring nature of faith and resilience. "Let us delve deeper," he urged, motioning for everyone to settle into the soft grass around him. For each teaching of Jesus opens a door to revelation, and we must be ready to enter. The villagers shifted closer, a sense of anticipation igniting their curiosity. "What, then, can we discover about this eternal promise?" asked Martha, her brow furrowed as she sought clarity. "What secrets lie hidden within it?" With a contemplative smile, Lazarus recounted, Jesus spoke often of the kingdom of God. He invited us into a realm where love reigns supreme, where the values of this world are turned upside down. He taught that the last shall be first, and the meek shall inherit the earth. This is not merely about a distant afterlife, but about how we can participate in the kingdom here and now. But how can we find that kingdom amidst our troubles? Eli interjected, his youthful face etched with frustration. Every day, we see conflict and suffering. It feels so far from the promise of peace. Lazarus nodded thoughtfully. These struggles are the very soil in which the seeds of faith are sown. Remember how Jesus faced adversity. His life was a testament to love amidst betrayal. Our moments of suffering can serve a purpose, illuminating the shadows where light can break through. Mary, still wrestling with grief, raised her voice. But what if we fail? What if we are not strong enough to carry this message? Failing is not the opposite of success. Dear Mary, Lazarus replied gently, it is part of the journey. In every failure, there can be learning. Jesus called us to rise after we fall, to forgive ourselves and others, and to continue sharing his love despite the obstacles. The group fell silent, reflecting on their own journeys of resilience. They realized that each had faced their own doubts and failures, yet through the lens of forgiveness, they could find grace. Might our hearts be assured that love always prevails? Martha wondered aloud, can we truly embody his teachings in a world filled with opposition? This time, it was Lazarus who felt the weight of the question. Each act of love, no matter how small, can invoke change. Jesus gave us a powerful image in the parable of the mustard seed, a tiny seed that grows into a mighty tree. Just as it takes time for growth, so does our journey toward the kingdom. His hopes began to swell. Eli glanced back toward the village, which lay peaceful and vibrant in the distance. And what of those who do not accept this message? How do we reach hearts hardened by despair? Ah, dear one, Lazarus said, his eyes twinkling with wisdom, we are not called to convert, but to bear witness, to live a life of love and service, to become the reflection of what we believe. The light we radiate may touch those who seem beyond reach, igniting a spark of curiosity and perhaps hope that a gentle wind wrapped around the villagers, carrying with it the ephemeral scent of blossoms from the olive trees. They felt a growing desire to embody this promise of eternity and to engage in acts of kindness, both great and small. The sun was now high, casting long shadows beneath the trees, as if inviting them to consider the layers of their understanding. Lazarus sensed their hearts beginning to open wide, each person an essential part of a grander canvas. What, then, do we truly understand about eternity? He asked, challenging them to dig deeper. Is it a destination to be achieved, or is it a journey we embark upon here, in this very moment? As shadows and light danced together on the ground, the villagers exchanged glances filled with a mix of apprehension and hope. They were left with the hovering question of their understanding, yet a new resolve began to take root within them. Would they find courage to step confidently into the unknown, nurturing both faith and love in their efforts? And as they prepared to weave the teachings of Jesus into their lives, what new revelations might they uncover about the nature of eternity itself? As the golden light of the afternoon began to soften, casting an aura of warmth over the grove, a hush settled among the villagers. In the midst of their contemplations on love and struggle, an unspoken awareness wafted through the air, an invitation to look deeper into the mysteries surrounding their faith. Lazarus observed the stirring in their hearts, and his voice rose gently. What if eternity resides not just in the promise of what lies beyond, but intimately interwoven into the fabric of our daily lives? Could it be that the encounters we have, infused with love and compassion, are echoing the essence of eternity itself? Martha, ever the seeker, nodded slowly. But how can we nurture these encounters? How can simple acts be part of something so vast? Consider the parable of the Good Samaritan. Lazarus began, his tone filled with reverence. In it, Jesus teaches us that true neighborliness transcends national boundaries and is rooted in empathy for those we least expect. The Samaritan saw the wounded man not as a stranger, but as a fellow child of God. It was his kindness in the face of prejudice that showcased the eternal heart of the kingdom. Eli's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. So you're saying our acts of kindness are like blood to the heart of the kingdom? They sustain it, even when surrounded by darkness. Exactly, Lazarus responded, encouraged by the boy's insight. Each kindness we extend resurrects fragments of the divine within our world. Each time we choose love over indifference, we participate in eternity. It's not just about the grand acts, but the quiet, consistent devotion to caring for one another. As the sun began its descent, casting long, intertwined shadows beneath the olive branches, Mary spoke up, vulnerability lacing her words. And when we feel heavy with grief like the weight of loss has crushed our spirits, how can we still echo eternity in our lives? That is a sacred journey, Lazarus acknowledged, a deep compassion filling his expression. Grief, while burdensome, can also cultivate a profound depth of love. When we mourn, we connect to the hearts of others who suffer. In that sharing, we can find the strength to transform pain into a bridge of understanding and connection. The gathered villagers reflected on their own experiences of love intertwined with sorrow, realizing that through each moment of hardship carried together, they had unknowingly invited the eternal into their presence. But still, they grappled with the weight of uncertainty. How can we ensure we are truly living in this kingdom perspective? Asked Eli, his youthful sincerity cut with urgency. What if we falter? What if we miss the signs? Lazarus regarded him thoughtfully. The question lies in our heart's intent. Each day, ask yourself, what fuels my actions? Is it fear or is it love? When we ground ourselves in love, we become more attuned to the divine whispers that guide us. Like the flowing water, which adapts to the contours of the land, our willingness to learn from our experiences shapes our path toward eternity. As light waned and stars began to peek through the twilight sky, a sense of unity grew among the villagers. They considered their own choices, how love could bloom even where despair lay thick. Might we become courageous enough to engage in this journey daily? Martha ventured, her voice a soft breeze. If eternity is woven into our actions, what commitment must we make to nurture this understanding? What if, Lazarus mused, the key to unraveling these eternal truths lies within our willingness to be vulnerable, to share both our joys and sorrows? The shadows deepened, drawing them into a realm of unanswered inquiries, yet igniting a flicker of hope for transformation. As the evening chill crept in, a fragile strength emerged among Thema call to embrace their shared journey into the enigmatic embrace of eternity. Yet, lingering in air was a question that beckoned their collective spirit to search deeper. In a world often marred by division and despair, how might they embody the eternal promise of love, and what wake? Would their actions leave for those who come after them? As the stars twinkled overhead, exuding a celestial light that echoed the promises of the divine, a wave of silence swept through the grove, drawing each villager deeper into contemplation. In the midst of this stillness, Lazarus felt an unmistakable pull toward the sacred teachings of their shared faith, yearning to offer more than mere words, a glimpse into the heart of what it meant to live within eternity. What if, he began, allowing the weight of his thoughts to settle among them? Our understanding of love is but a mirror reflecting the greater truth of his teachings. Could it be that Jesus illustrated a new vision of eternity, one not bound by time or space, but woven into the fabric of our everyday encounters? Martha's brow furrowed with curiosity. What do you mean, Lazarus? How could divine eternity intertwine with our mundane lives? Lazarus drew a deep breath, gazing at the faces eager for understanding. In the Gospel, Jesus described the kingdom of God not in distant terms, but through parables that grounded the sacred in the familiar, like a mustard seed that grows into a mighty tree or yeast that permeates the dough. These images remind us that heaven is not a realm far away, but a reality birthed through our choices of love and grace. As he spoke, Eli's mind whirled with visions. So, in every small act, we could be planting seeds of the kingdom. Precisely, Lazarus affirmed, his voice rising with fervor. It is in the simplicity of sharing bread with one another, tending to the weary traveler, and embracing the forgotten. These are the manifestations of eternity among us, revealing the presence of God in our very midst. Every kind gesture, every moment of forgiveness, pulls heaven closer to earth. Mary was still, her heart resonating with the quiet echoes of loss she carried. But what about those places where fear roams free? What of the pain that shatters our connection to love? How can we find eternity in despair? Ah, Lazarus replied gently, It is in those raw moments of grief that we encounter our deepest longings for connection. Jesus, too, experienced the anguish of loss. When he wept for Lazarus, it was not merely for his absence. It was for the pain of separation itself. Our struggles can illuminate the sacred thread that binds us to one another. Through vulnerability, we can honor our grief while awakening profound threads of love. The villagers exchanged glances, feeling the weight of these truths unfold like petals in the bloom of understanding. Yet the shadows of uncertainty lingered. Eli leaned forward, a glimmer of boldness in his young eyes. If our acts truly connect us to something eternal, how can we ensure we are not merely going through the motions? How do we keep our hearts awake to this truth? Let your hearts be your compass, Lazarus advised, the wisdom of his years surfacing with clarity. Seek to understand the interplay of love and intention behind each action. When doubt arises, return to the well of compassion that pours forth from the Spirit of Jesus. Reflect on moments that ignite your heart, and let them serve as a reminder that each encounter holds the potential for eternity. As the evening hours turned cooler, a sense of resolve began to blossom among them, igniting a collective desire to embrace this sacred journey. But what if the world outside this grove filled with its chaos and division makes it challenging to embody this kingdom? Martha questioned, her voice a whisper in the cool night air. Perhaps, Lazarus concluded, the true test lies not in the absence of struggle, but in our ability to respond to it with love. Are we willing to be the ones who break down barriers and reach across divides? Each effort creates ripples, an unfolding of eternity shaped by our choices. This is where we are called to witness the truth in our own lives. The villagers mulled over these thoughts. A sense of both burden and possibility hung in the air. They began to recognize the call to action and the power that lay within their unified intentions. Each heart beat in rhythm, echoing the mysteries of their faith. But soon, the sparkling stars above reminded them of the vast questions still lingering. How could they carry forth amidst the trials of their journey? What legacy of love could they leave behind? And would it truly resonate through the ages to come? As dawn broke over the village, a gentle light filled the grove, stirring the hearts of those who had gathered. Lazarus stood before them, the warmth of the sun tracing golden patterns on his face, reflecting the light that had been reignited within him. The villagers, their spirits awakened through the night's revelations, sensed a sacred momentum building an invitation not just to understand eternity, but to embody it in their very lives. In that moment of sacred stillness, Lazarus took a breath, the air sweet with the mingling sense of earth and blossoming flowers. What is it that compels us to seek deeper truths? Is it not the love that flows between us, the ties that bind us, and the hope that rises amidst our struggles? His voice, steady and heartfelt, resonated with each soul present that a quiet murmur swept through the crowd. They found themselves at the brink of collective awakening. Eli, ever curious, ventured forth, his youthful exuberance a stark contrast to the gravity of the moment. But what does it mean to truly live this love, Lazarus? When the world so often seems against us, how do we keep the promise of eternity alive in our hearts? Eternal love is the very heartbeat of our existence, Lazarus responded, his eyes alight with conviction. It is not only the actions we take, but the intention that fuels those actions. It beckons us to rise above the noise of despair and hopelessness. Every decision we Makito embrace compassion, to forgive, to serve becomes a step into the eternity we seek. Often, Mary interjected, thoughts whirling like autumn leaves, we lose sight of this in our daily lives. With toil and tribulation pressing upon us, how can we cultivate the spirit of this eternal love each day? My dear sister, Lazarus acknowledged with tenderness, the journey to embody eternity begins with a commitment to look beyond our immediate circumstances and weave love into the fabric of our daily lives. Even in moments of grief and struggle, We must remember that hope thrives in love's undying embrace. Murmurs of agreement wove through the group. An elder, wise with experience, drew forward, his brows furrowed in contemplation. But Lazarus, what becomes of our fears? Are we not also anchored in doubt and sorrow? How do we reconcile these natural human experiences with this call to live and love? The crowd held its breath, sensing the weight of the question. Lazarus' gaze softened, recognizing the struggle intrinsic to the human heart. Fear, dear elder, is a part of the tapestry, an emotion we all experience. However, it is our choice in how we respond that shapes our journey. Jesus taught us to cast our anxieties upon him. In acceptance, we dismantle those barriers that keep us from experiencing love. Let the light of hope pierce the shadows of fear, for within every heart lies the extraordinary capacity to transform. With each spoken word, it felt as though the very air shimmered with possibility. Martha stepped forward, her spirit boldened by the palpable unity around her. And what of our actions? How do we ensure that they echo this eternal love? How can we truly make a difference in our village and beyond? Every act of kindness, however humble, sends ripples through the fabric of existence, Lazarus affirmed, gesturing to the villagers surrounding him, connected in their shared purpose. When we approach each relationship with love, vulnerability, and authenticity, we nourish not only ourselves, but also the community we inhabit. We sow seeds of change, awakening hope in others, compelling them to do the same as the sun climbed higher in the sky. Illuminating the contours of each listener's face, a fervent energy coursed through the assembly. The realization dawned that they were no longer passive recipients of love. They were called to be its bearers, to touch lives with the light of eternity that Jesus embodied. In the space of shared silence, Eli stood again, a vibrant flame among them. Then let us be conduits of this ongoing miracle. Let's make choices every day that reflect the beauty of love. If we step forward in faith, we can illuminate even the darkest corners of this world. The villagers, hearts encased in newfound determination, nodded collectively. What had begun as a gathering to seek understanding now transformed into a movement, a commitment to live their faith boldly, unafraid to share love's profound truth. As the day drew on and horizons unveiled their colorful tapestry, Lazarus felt a shift within himself, the burden of expectation lifting as clarity seeped in. It is not only what we leave behind, but the legacy of love we cultivate here and now that truly matters. Each word we speak, each hand we extend, is imbued with the sacred gift of eternity. Laughter erupted from the group at the idea of embracing love amidst their everyday experiences, a spark ignited that would not be easily extinguished. They understood then that the essence of eternity was indeed accessible, was present in every heartbeat, every shared moment, every act designed to uplift one another. Yet amid the joy, an understanding of the weight of their purpose began to settle upon them. They knew that their commitment would be tested, that uncertainty and fear would rear their heads once more. But they were resolute. Love was worth the fight. Let this be the moment that marks their rebirth, transforming fear into faith, shadows into light. They would walk forth as witnesses not only to the miracle of Lazarus being raised from the dead, but to the living truth of Jesus' teachings that echoed through the ages. And as their laughter intertwined with the gentle breeze, Lazarus bestowed upon them the final revelation. Remember, dear friends, that we are all part of this eternal dance, the dance of love that invites not only us, but all creation into its embrace. Live fully, love fiercely, and never forget that the essence of eternity resides within each of us. With these words, the villagers felt the stirring of faith deep within their hearts, a renewed understanding that life is not merely to be endured, but to be embraced with love and connection. The true essence of eternity was not a distant promise, but a profound reality waiting to be lived. And as they turned towards the rising sun, Their spirits soared with the limitless possibilities that lay ahead, ready to embrace the journey anew.